Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today, per request of some people in the comments, I want to do a short little video on lighting. I hope to do some more in-depth ones in the future, but we actually just made kind of like a somewhat permanent studio setup at our office space here. And so I was setting up lighting, thought, hey, I might as well make a video for YouTube as well, let you guys in a little bit as to why I'm setting certain things up and what I'm adding here. And so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what I have going on here as far as lighting goes and why I made those choices. And so first of all, I'm gonna start off just by going blackout. I'm gonna turn off the lights that we have in here, and then I'll start to add in the lights that we have and the lighting modifiers that we have, and just show you a little bit of what these are actually doing. So this is what the shot looks like blacked out. We don't have any of our lights turned on, but you can see there's still a little bit of light, and that's just coming from this far window on the far side of our office right there. We added both shears and curtains, and so if we want it completely blacked out, if we're going for a really edgy, dark look, we can close those curtains off and stop that light from coming through. But we also have the option to just kind of diffuse that light. So it's not as harsh, so we have those big, diffusion curtains that are on top of the windows right now. I wanted a little bit of kind of like fill coming in. You'll see what I mean once we get the shot going, and add in our key light and all of that. But basically just, I found for this particular situation, and obviously it depends on the day and how harsh the sun is and all of that. Right now it's quite overcast, so we're not getting a lot of light anyway. So having those shears, we just get a nice kind of like soft light kind of filling in some of the shadows. And so that's gonna help us with this overall scene. But if we just left it at that, the shot's not gonna look the best. One, it's kind of dark. Two, it's just the light is too far away from our face. Three, the weather's gonna be unpredictable, right? If it's raining right now, it's quite overcast, but if the sun was to come out, then our lighting is completely gonna change on us, and we don't want that, especially if we're shooting long form kind of interview or talking head content, where we're rolling for a long period of time. The sun can actually change position, it can change intensity, direction, all of that during the day, and so we don't want that. We want our shots to look consistent. We don't want them to be affected by things that we can't control, like the sun. And so I'm only using daylight as fill. Like it's not gonna affect our shots a lot. It's just a little bit of a touch that just adds a little bit of ambient light into the room. And I'm okay with that. Honestly, if I wanted it to be even more dialed in, I would probably shut those curtains off completely, and I would add my own fill light, just using an actual manufactured light, an LED panel, something like that. But for the sake of this video, I'll just leave it in, and then I'll show you what I'm doing with the other lights. So let's go ahead and add our key light in and see what that looks like on its own. Okay, so now we have our key light in, and you can see that now the image is a little bit brighter. You can actually see my face a little bit better. And also just the direction of light is where we want it. It's at a nice kind of 45-degree angle where we're almost getting that Rembrandt lighting, where it's just peeking over to this side of my face here. But then this side is completely lit up. We just get that shadow kind of fall off on this side of my face here. It also, you can see that the lighting is decently soft. That's because we have it in this kind of parabolic softbox. I think sometimes parabolic softboxes are a little bit overrated. There are better solutions, like using 4x4 or 8x8 kind of like grids and diffusers for your lights. But for a studio space like this, where it's not the biggest thing in the world, this is a great solution because it does diffuse the light quite a bit. It's not the same as you would get from like an 8x8 diffusion or something like that, but it's a good solution when we get it nice and close for a studio setup like this, when we're not dealing with the biggest space in the world. If you had like a full, like warehouse or something like that to shoot in, where we had nothing but space, it would be great to get bigger modifiers in, but that just isn't really doable here. And a lot of the time for shoots that I go on, it's nice to have these parabolic softboxes as an option, because one, they're just easier to pack up, they're easier to set up, and they just don't take as much space. So if you do find yourself in kind of a confined environment for filming, this is a great solution. Let's move on to our hair light and see what that looks like. So now we have our hair light turned on. Some people also refer to this as an edge light or a rim light. Now, those are slightly different. A hair light is kind of more targeted towards like the top of the head, making sure that the hair itself is lit up, which for talking head stuff like this is great. But for other shots, it might be similar. Like you might still be just getting that edge, but it might be more of like a shoulder or like side profile of the face or something like that. And that just will depend on where you place the light. But the whole kind of philosophy is let's put a light behind us because that creates a little bit of an edge around our subject and it just separates us from the background. And so you can see like, especially with like my hat or maybe like if I was wearing a darker shirt, I mean, this gray shirt's gonna stand out decently from the background, but it's still a gray, which the background is also a gray. And so if we just had that on its own, just against the background, there wouldn't be a lot of contrast separating me from the background. And so adding a rim light that just adds a little highlight all the way around the edge, that's a great way to add that separation, just make your shots kind of like pop out from the background. So we always kind of like to add a rim light, hair light, edge light, whatever you wanna call it, into our shots as far as lighting goes. Sometimes it's great to just kind of play around with edge lighting as well. Not really for studio setups and talking head, but for more creative work. Backlight is king. You know, if you can backlight a shot, it will look good. That is the general philosophy. Whenever you're shooting sunsets or anything like that, you try to be with the light to the back of your subject, camera facing the light, and that just really creates a lot of interest, right? You get that separation between your highlights and your shadows, it creates contrast, and that's what we're going for. That's what creates a cinematic image. And so even when you think about doing talking head shots, right now I'm obviously facing directly to the camera, but if I was gonna angle myself a certain way, not be looking directly at the camera, the last thing I would do is turn this way. And the reason for that is because now basically this light isn't giving any shape to my face, it's just hitting my face directly on, and it's not curving around any of the edges or anything like that. And so typically you want your subject to be more angled towards the light. And so basically the camera is picking up the dark side of your face, and even better, we would probably move this light over this way even more, and then that would create a lot more shape and kind of depth to my face. The last thing that we have added in here is right to this side of me, we have a, basically just like a reflector. We have like one of those, you know, you can get them off Amazon, just a big round white reflector that you can unfold. And we just have that kind of mounted up on a stand. And that's basically just bouncing some of that backlight and that key light back onto my face. And so it's adding some more fill. We were getting some from the window, but this just helps, it brings it nice and close, and so it's more diffused and it's a bit of a softer light, and it just helps kind of like even out those ratios between the key side of my face and the fill side. So that's just a super quick breakdown of this particular setup. Hopefully it's helpful. It gives you a little bit of insight into, you know, how I'm lighting, what kind of lights I'm using, the angles that I'm choosing, and just a little bit of like the thought process behind what I would do with a talking head portion. Hopefully there'll be more lighting videos to come. I would love to make some more in-depth videos about particular like scenes and how to make it a little bit more interesting and incorporating practical lights and all of that sort of thing. But for now, hopefully that gives you the bare bones kind of basics of what you're starting off with when lighting a scene. If you like this video, go ahead, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.